Saw that?
retailing shop
Okay.
chain from Spain. They had a bargain sale today. Then I found very good T-shirt. Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
White
That's good.
T-shirt and printed some female black and white photo like that, but not the black, gray and white. And then front of the very bottom and the front, they are the gold.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Is it a big t-shirt or is it a small t-shirt? Is it like form-fitting or is it loose?
Quite tight. Not loose T-shirt.
Okay. So it's tight, it's not loose?
Not loose. So I'm
Okay.
thinking about some pants.
Okay. Nice. All right. Cool. And you probably got a good deal on it. That's good. That's a good feeling. Did you get anything else today?
Today I didn't do anything. I was laying down on the couch because it's very hot.
Yeah. Okay. And is the mall full of students still?
I went more and at first I dropped by in Pearl. How can I say? We call it Pearl, like fruit tart or something shop.
Like
Like tart, small cakes, and there are a lot of toppings are fruit. And I already ordered some coffee and cake set.
Okay. Cool. A cake with like lots of fruit toppings.
Yeah, cake, but very hard. The bottom is very hard cake, not soft. And I
Huh.
put some cream and a lot of fruit. In
I don't
Japan, we
know.
call it tart, but I don't know how
A
to
tart?
call tart.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right actually. It's probably definitely a tart. All right. Um,
Very delicious.
cool. Yeah. What kind of tart did you get?
Many kind of fruits, kiwi or strawberry and apple, banana.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you got one with all of the types of fruits on it. It was a mixture?
hmm Before
Okay.
I ordered some cheesecake, but fruit cake is much better because it's summer season.
Okay. Sweet. Um, and Rashid, how's it going?
I'm fine, thanks. And you?
Doing well. Thank you for asking. Rashid, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, yes, that's right pronunciation.
Okay. Perfect. I've had you in class before, right, Rashid?
Yes, I think it's a very long time ago. I think half year ago or so.
Wow. Okay, so quite a long time ago.
Yes.
How have you been?
I'm fine, thank you.
Nice. Well, it's good to have you again.
It's for me the first time in a long time that I speak English. So I have to, how you call it? I don't know.
Concentrate.
Yes, to concentrate to come up with words and that kind of things. Yes.
Okay, good. It sounds like you're doing a good job already, though, and your pronunciation sounds really good. What'd you do today with Rashid?
I've worked until 3 o'clock. It's now 4 o'clock in the Netherlands because I live in the Netherlands.
Okay.
And I think from 7 o'clock I'm going studying a little bit.
All right, nice.
So
Okay. And let's, I guess, get started with today's class. So we've got a short story. And can you see that, guys?
yes.
Okay. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. How's the size, Heidi? Too small?
Somehow I can read it.
Okay. Let's try to make it a little bit bigger then. Let's see. No.
Okay.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's have Heidi. Can you read that first paragraph?
Okay. It happened in the late and prolonged period of complete disruption. At the time of the liquidation of our business, the signboard had been removed from over our shop. The shutters were halfway down, and inside the shop, my mother was conducting an unauthorized trade in remnant. Adela had gone to America, and it was said that the boat on which she had sailed had sunk, and that all the passengers had lost their lives. We were unable to verify this rumor, but all trace of the girl was lost, and we never heard of her again. A new age began, empty, sober, and joyless, like a sheet of white paper. A new servant girl, Genya, anemic, pale, and boneless, mooned about the rooms. When one patted her on the back, she wriggled, stretched like a snake, or purred like a cat. She had a dull white complexion, and even the insides of her eyelids were white. She was so absent-minded that she sometimes made a white sauce from old letters and invoices. It was sickly and inedible.
All right, good. This might be a little bit difficult. I forgot how difficult this story was. Liquidation.
Liquidation.
Mhm. Remnants.
Mhm. Remnant.
Remnants.
Remnant.
Like remnants.
Mhm.
Remnants.
Remnant. Remnant.
Nice. Remnants. It's got more of like a nin to it.
Mhm.
Good. Remnants. And anemic.
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 Anemia. Anemic.
Good. Yeah,
Anemic
perfect.
with medical disease.
Anemia.
No.
Yep.
Anemia.
Yes.
Anemia.
Wriggled.
Wriggled.
Absent-minded.
Absent-minded.
And letters. Letters. Invoices.
Letters. Invoices.
Sickening now.
Invoices.
All right.
Invoices.
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 Good. Okay. And so do either of you guys have any idea what's happening in this first paragraph?
Maybe a big ship sank in the sea. And then several people, passengers died.
Yep.
By the accident.
And so definitely. So there was a boat that had crashed. What's happening here in the beginning is that what is the story? The story is going to happen.
Like Titanic. Maybe ship.
It might be.
Ship was going to America. No.
Yeah, it definitely could have been.
From Europe.
And so it was their servant girl. So Della is their servant girl, and they got a new one.
New servant.
Yep. And so their business is going bad. So the mom is selling the remains of the business. And this new servant girl is like really
Mother
thin.
went to America, had gone to America. So
Yeah.
new girl came to that place again. Yeah.
Mhm.
She is pale. She is pale and a little like sick. Seems
Uh-huh.
like
Yeah, so you've got an iron deficiency. If you're anemic, you end up
and
really
very thin,
skinny.
very thin.
Yeah,
That
thin,
seems
weak.
like a snake.
Uh-huh. And she has like these weird things that she does.
Yeah, very weird.
It's really strange. And she makes a soup out of paper, so letters and invoices. She makes like a sickly, inedible soup out of paper and invoices, things that you can't really eat. So it's a little bit surreal. And Rashid, can you read the next paragraph?
Yes. At the time my father was definitely dead. He had been dying a number of times, always with some reservation that forced us to revise our attitude towards the fact of death. That had its advantages. By dividing his death into Steelman's, father had familiarized
Nice.
us with his demise. We became gradually indifferent to his returns, each one shorter, each one more pitiful. His features were always dispersed throughout the room in which he had lived, and were sprouting in it, creating at some point strange knots of likenesses that were most expressive. The wallpaper began in certain places to imitate his habitual nervous tic. The flower designs arranged themselves into doleful elements of his smile, symmetrically as a fossilized imprint of trilobite.
Good, I have no idea.
For a time we gave with Beth to his fur coat lined with polecat skins. The fur coat breathed the panic of a small animal swinging together and biting into another passed through it in helpless currents, and lost itself in the folds of the fur. Putting one's ears against it, one could hear the melodious purring unison and the animal's sleep. In this well-tamed form ain't the faint smell of polecat, murder, and the night-time matings. My father might have lasted for many years, but he did not last.
Okay, really good. So trilobite is a type of fossil. Yeah, we can go into it a little bit more. By dividing.
Dividing.
Hmm? Installments.
Installments.
Pitiful.
Pitiful.
Features.
Features.
Dispersed.
Dispersed.
Imitate. Oh wow. Sorry, hold on. Polecat.
Polecat.
Yeah. Type of cat. Breathed.
Breathed.
Sown. Melodious. Nice. Unison. Nice. Mid.
Mid.
Amid. Okay. And so again, with a little bit surreal, we've got the father who's dead. He died more than once. and it was always like kind of death. He always kind of died, and so the family like has to revise their attitudes by like cutting up or partitioning his death into installments, like sections, installment payments. Um, my father had familiarized with us with his death, um, and yeah, each time he died, he came back for like a shorter period of time, and it was like worse. Um, and like his body is dispersed in these things that he used to have, his old room, the wallpapers like becoming like him. Um, the flowers are like smiling like he smiled. His even fur coat. Polecat is a type of animal. He's like in this fur coat. Um, yeah, you can almost hear the dead animals too, but the dead dad is there, but he didn't stay there. Hopefully that makes sense so far. Does anybody have any questions other than that? Okay, Kratika, how's it going?
Hi, teacher. It's really good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks for asking. And yeah, Kratika, maybe can you read this next paragraph?
Uh, from one day?
Yeah.
Okay. One day, mother returned from town with a preoccupied face. Look, Joseph, she said, what a lucky coincidence. I caught him on the stairs, jumping from step to step, and she lifted a handkerchief that covered something on a plate. I recognized him at once. The resemblance was striking, although now he was a crab or a large scorpion. Mother and I exchanged looks. In spite of the metamorphosis, the resemblance was incredible. "Is he alive?" I asked. "Of course. I can hardly hold him," Mother said. "Shall I place him on the floor?" She put the plate down, and leaning over him, we observed him closely. There was a hollow place between his numerous curved legs, which he was moving slightly. His uplifted pincers and feelers seemed to be listening. I tipped the plate, and father moved cautiously and with a certain hesitation to the floor. Upon touching the flat surface under him, he gave a sudden start with all of his legs, while his arthropod joints made a clacking sound. I cannot read. Yeah. I barred his way. He hesitated, investigated the obstacle with his feelers, then lifted his pincers and turned aside. We let him run in his chosen direction, where there was no furniture to give him shelter. Running in a wavy jerks on his many legs, he reached the wall and before we could stop him, ran slightly up it, not pausing anywhere. I shuddered with instinctive revulsion as I watched his progress up the wallpaper. Meanwhile, father reached a small brown kitchen cupboard, hung for a moment on its edge, testing the terrain with his pincers, and then crawled into it.
Good. Really, really nicely done. Um,
Thank
the pronunciation mother and I.
Mother and I.
Yeah, mother and I exchanged looks. Um, and progress.
Progress.
Nice. Really well done. And so, yeah, I think this is pretty straightforward. Does anybody have any questions here?
I want to ask the meaning of feelers, uplifted with pincers and feelers. He is uplifted pincers and feelers. What does pincers and feelers means?
Okay, so pincer is like a claw, and a feeler is like really it's something that you how do I explain a feeler? It's like on a cat, your whiskers are kind of feelers. So it's something that animals who don't see very well use to like move around.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. And Heidi, can you read the next paragraph? Heidi, are you there?
I'm sorry, I muted. He was discovering the apartment afresh from the new point of view of a crab. Evidently, he perceived all objects by his sense of smell, for in spite of careful checking, I could not find on him any organ of sight. He seemed to consider carefully the objects he encountered in his path, stopping and feeling them with his antenna, then embracing them with his pincers, as if to test them and make their acquaintance. After a time, he left them and continued on his run, pulling his abdomen behind him, lifted slightly from the floor. He acted the same way with the pieces of bread and meat that we threw on the floor for him, hoping he would eat them. He gave them a perfunctory examination and ran on, not recognizing that they were edible.
Really well done. Really good job with perfunctory. Acquaintance, you did a really nice job with. Antenna, you did a really nice job with. Maybe abdomen?
Abdomen.
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 And maybe examination.
Examination.
Nice. Really well done, Heidi. Okay, and let's have Rashid. Can you try the next paragraph?
Yes, it starts with watching, eh?
Mm-hmm.
I think, yes. Watching these patient surveys of the room, one could assume that he was obstinately and indefatigably
Hard word.
looking for something. From time to time, he ran to a corner of the kitchen, grabbed under a barrel of water that was leaking, and upon reaching the puddle, seemed to drink. Sometimes he disappeared for days on end. He seemed to manage perfectly well without food, but this did not seem to affect his fertility, with mixed feelings of shame and repugnance. He concealed by day our secret fear that he might visit us in the bed during the night, but this never occurred, although in the daytime he would wander all over the furniture. He particularly liked to stay in the spaces between the wardrobes on the wall.
Nice. Really good job. A couple of really difficult words. Obstinately.
Obstinately.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Obstinately. Indefatigably.
Can you repeat it?
Indefatigably.
Indefatigably.
Good. Indefatigably. Vitality.
Vitality.
Mm-hmm.
Vitality.
Particularly.
Particularly.
Good. Obstinate is like stubborn. So stubbornly and tirelessly would be indefatigably. So that without tiring. And back here, there was another one. Perfunctory examination is like a quick look. He gave them a quick look and then he ran on the food. Does anybody have any questions here? V, welcome to class V. How's it going?
Thank you. I'm good. What about you?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking. And let's have Kratika. Can you read the next paragraph?
Yes, sir. We could not discount certain manifestations of reasons and even a sense of humor. For instance, Father never failed to appear in the dining room during mealtime, although his participation in them was purely symbolic. If the dining room door was by chance closed during dinner and he had been left in the next room, he crashed at the bottom of the door, running up and down along the track until we opened it for him. In time, he learned how to insert his pincers and legs under the door, and after some elaborate maneuvers, he finally succeeded in insinuating his body through its sideways into the dining room. It seemed to give him pleasure. He would then stop under the table, lying quite still, his abdomen slightly pulsating. What the meaning of these rhythmic pulsations was, we could not imagine. They seemed obscene and malicious, but at the same time expressed a rather gross and lustful satisfaction. Our dog, Nimrod, would approach him slowly and without conviction, sniff at him, cautiously sneeze, and turn away indifferently, not having. Um, I cannot read like this. Can you please do a little bit up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not having reached any conclusion.
Okay, really well done. Okay, gross.
Gross,
Yeah, gross.
gross.
Huh? And so manifestations are like when something manifests, it comes into being. So this crab type creature seems to have somewhat of a sense of humor, and the sense of humor is apparent. So he always comes into the room during meal times, although he doesn't really do anything. He first scratched on the door until they opened it, and then he ended up using elaborate maneuvers, like moving his body in complicated ways. He managed to insinuate himself into the dining room, which is like putting himself into the dining room. It's like slipping, putting, kind of insinuating. So we especially use insinuate with speech. So we insinuate something. It's like we say something without directly saying it. And yeah, he like stays under the dining room table, kind of like with his abdomen pulsating. We didn't know what that meant. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Does anybody have any other questions here? Okay. And Heidi, can you read the next two paragraphs? This is meanwhile.
Meanwhile, the demoralization in our household was increasing. Genia slept all day long, her slim body bended and undulating with her deep breath. We often found in the soap reels of cotton, which she had thrown in unthinkingly with the vegetables. Our shop was open non-stop, day and night. A continuous sale took place amid complicated bargaining and discussion. To crown it all, Uncle Charles came to stay. He was strangely depressed and silent. He declared with a sigh that after his recent unfortunate experiences, he had decided to change his way of life and devote himself to the study of languages. He never went out, but locked himself in the most remote room from which Genya had removed all the carpets and curtains. as she did not approve of our visitor. There he spent his time reading all the press lists. Several times he tried viciously to step on the father. Screaming with horror, we told him to stop it. Afterwards, he only smiled wearily to himself, while father, not realizing the danger he had been in, hung around studied some stuffs on the floor.
Nice. This last sentence, afterwards he only smiled wryly to himself, while father, not realizing the danger he'd been in, hung around and studied some spots on the floor. Can you read that one more time, that last sentence?
Afterwards, he only smiled wearily to himself, while father, not realizing the danger he had been in, hung around studied some stops on the floor.
Yeah, some spots on the floor.
Some spots.
Uh-huh.
My eyesight is very weak. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Can you repeat Riley? Riley?
Riley?
Yeah, so a wry smile is like a half smile. It's like you're not really pleased, but you're like kind of laughing at something. Yeah, it's not an open smile, and it's not really a pleased smile. There's some irony in it. Vegetables?
Vegetables.
Uh-huh. And so what's happening here is, you know, things at the household are getting worse, so the demoralization of the household is increasing. There's less motivation. The servant sleeps all day, her slim body just like kind of moving with breathing. She's throwing in cotton with the soup. So she makes soup, but she throws in cotton with the vegetables. And their shop is always open, and they're always selling things. And their Uncle Charles comes. He was really miserable. He wanted to study languages. He locks himself in a remote room, and the servant takes out all the carpets and curtains because she doesn't like him. And then he just reads old price lists there. And then he tries to kill Father, the crab. And they tell him to stop, and he's kind of just smiles at them. Hopefully, this all makes sense. It's a little bit absurd again. So to do that, can you not hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear, but before I couldn't.
Yes, now we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, not sure what that was. Rashid, or V, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that was that then. V, can you read the next paragraph?
Yeah. My father, quick and mobile as long as he was on his feet, shared with all crustaceans the characteristic that when turned on his back, he became largely immobile. It was sad and pitiful to see him desperately moving on his limbs and rotating helplessly around his own axis. We could hardly force ourselves to look at the conspicuous, almost shameless mechanism of his anatomy, completely exposed under the bare, articulated belly. At such moments, Uncle Charles could barely restrain himself from stamping on Father. We ran to his rescue with some object at hand. which he caught tightly with his pincers, quickly regained his normal position. Then at once he started a lightning zigzag run at double speed, as if wanting to obliterate the memory of his unsightly fall.
Nice. Okay, so some difficult words. Crustaceans.
Crustacean,
Yeah. And then immobile.
immobile,
Immobile. Pitiful.
beautiful,
Desperately.
desperately, is that right?
Close.
Desperately,
Desperately.
desperately,
Perfect. That E is silent. Conspicuous.
conspic, oh, conspicuous,
Mhm. Anatomy.
conspicuous, anatomy,
Obliterate.
obliterate,
Good. Obliterate. Okay. So
oh,
a crustacean is a type of creature that it's like a crab or a lobster. It's any sea creature with a shell would be a crustacean. Immobile is unable to be moved, so like you can't move. So when he gets flipped on his back, he can't move. It was really sad. Sad and pitiful are really similar. To watch him like desperately trying to flip back over. So rotating haplessly on his own axis. So he's just kind of spinning around on his back. Um, I mean, it was almost embarrassing to look at the obvious, like, shameless mechanism of his anatomy, like the really obvious way that his body worked, which was completely exposed um, under the articulated belly. So creatures with shells have articulated like limbs or articulated like pieces of armor. If you look at an armadillo, um, it just means that they like kind of fold together, so they're articulated. Um, yeah, it's kind of a hard one to explain. Uncle Charles really wants to crush Father, and they flip him over, and he runs around trying to like make them forget about the memory of his embarrassing fall. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Rashid, huh? Heidi?
A little complicated because her father, shared his leg with some like crab or something.
Yeah. So it's surreal. So if we look back to the beginning too, the father is definitely dead at this time. So at the time my father was definitely dead. And so he dies a number of times, but he always like has some reservations. So he kind of comes back. He divides his death into installments. So the first one, he becomes the wallpaper that imitates his nervous tick, and then he becomes the fur coat, and other things, and then his mother comes back with the crab creature who is the father on a plate. And yeah, so that's kind of where we are so far. Um, Rashid, can you read the next paragraph? Rashid, your microphone is muted. Yeah, there you go.
Yes, I think it's not good. I must force myself to report truthfully the unbelievable deed from which my memory recoils even now. To this day, I cannot understand how we became the conscious perpetrators of it. A strange fatality must have been driving us to it, for fate does not evade cons- um, consciousness or will, but engulfs them in its mechanism so that we are able to admit and accept, as in a hypnotic trance, things that under normal circumstances would fill us with horror.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and read this next paragraph.
Shaken badly, I asked my mother in despair again and again, how would you have done it if it were Genia who had done it, but yourself? Mother cried, wrung her hands, and could find no answer. Had she thought that father would be better off? Had she seen in the act the only solution to a hopeless situation? Or did she do it out of inconceivable thoughtlessness and frivolity? Fate has 1,000 wiles when it chooses to impose on us its incomprehensible whims.
Good. Keep going. That was just good job with whims.
Whims. A temporary blackout, a moment of inattention or blindness is enough to insinuate an act between the scylla and caribness of decision. Afterwards, with hindsight, we may endlessly ponder that act, explain our motives, try to discover our intentions, but the act remains irrevocable.
Okay, good. Really, really good. This is some of the most difficult words. Okay, conscious.
Conscious.
Yeah, conscious perpetrators.
Perpetrators.
Consciousness.
Consciousness.
Engulfs.
Engulfs.
Hypnotic.
Hypnotic.
Inconceivable.
Inconceivable.
Frivolity.
Frivolity.
Incomprehensible.
Incomprehensible.
Good. Incomprehensible whims. And irrevocable.
Irrevocable.
Ready. Irrevocable. Alright, what's happening here? He's saying, I have to tell you the actual unbelievable deed, like the thing that actually happened, which still kind of makes me recoil, makes me not want to think about. I don't want to get close to the thought of this deed. He couldn't believe that we, the family, were aware, like we were aware that we actually committed the act, and a strange like sense of fate must have been pushing us to it, and like fate does not evade consciousness but engulfs them. Okay, so because fate doesn't make you like not think about something or not want to do something, but it ties that into its power. So if you're fated to do something, you can still think about it and want to do it, and that's still fate. Apparently. And so they're able to like think and accept what they're doing almost hypnotically, almost as if they're in a trance, hypnotized. So they're able to do things and admit things that normally would fill them with horror. So he's like badly shaken, so he's emotionally disturbed, and he says to his mother, like, how could you have done it? Maybe the servant girl, but you, I can't believe you did it. She wrings her hands, can't answer. Why did she do it? Maybe she thought the dad would be better off. Maybe it was like thoughtless. Maybe it was just like frivolous. So just kind of random and small. Yeah, fate again. Maybe like inattention or blindness. Um, so the Scala and Charybdis. Does anybody know who Scala and Charybdis are? Any ideas? Okay, so they're Greek mythological monsters in the ocean, and so when you're passing the certain part of the ocean, you have to choose between one monster or the other monster. I think Charybdis is like a whirlpool, and the Skyla, I'm not really sure, but two Greek monsters in the ocean. Um, yeah, and so in hindsight, you can like kind of think about the act and explain the reason why you acted, but the true intentions of the act are like yeah, you can try to discover them, but like you can't change the act. It's irrevocable. You cannot take it back. Whew. So do those two very difficult paragraphs make sense? Do you guys understand those? Okay. Well, no questions at least. Heidi, can you read the next paragraph?
When father was brought on the dish, we came to our senses and understood fully what happened. He lay large and swollen from the boiling, pale gray and jellified. We sat in silence, dumbfounded. Only Uncle Charles lifted his fork towards the dish, but at once he put it down uncertainly, looking at us askance.
Nice.
Mother ordered it to be taken to the sitting room. It stood there afterwards on a table covered with a velvet cloth, not next to the album of family photographs and musical cigarette box. Avoided by us all, it just stood there.
Really good. Okay, you did a really great job. Nice job with jellified, dumbfounded, askance. Maybe one more time. Askance.
Askance?
Uh-huh. Okay. And what's happening here, Heidi?
Father, come on,
Yeah.
So a lot of strange things happened by him. Then they could understand, no?
So back here, the unbelievable deed, which my memory recalls from even now. I can't understand how we became conscious perpetrators of it. And then what's he ask his mother?
Mother sometimes disappear and again. What she
The
was
father.
doing. Father?
Well, the father kind of disappears. What's he say to his mom here? Can you just read that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so he's badly shaken. He's like, "Mom, how could you have done that?"
Then temporary blackout happened. It's because of the cat.
Well, so the temporary blackout is like in our actions. Like sometimes we do things without thinking about them. There's like a inattention or a blindness. Having that, it's enough to like choose between one monster and another, like making these really big decisions. And like we might look back and wonder about our motives and the intentions of our actions, but you can't change the act again. And then so father was brought out on a dish. So the mom cooked the crab, is what happened. So they came to their senses and they understood what had happened was that he'd been cooked for some reason. He was swollen from the boiling. He was gray and jellified.
Only uncle is eating.
Yeah. Uncle Charles lifted his fork towards the dish, and then he like put it down uncertainly. He's like kind of looking at them like, "Oh, sorry guys." He's looking at them like sideways. And then so they took this crab to the living room, the sitting room, and it's just kind of stood in the sitting room next to family photographs and the musical cigarette box, and everybody avoided it, and it just stayed there. V, can you read the last paragraph?
Can I ask what is it in
It?
the upper paragraph?
It's the father, which is also kind of a crab. So the father comes back in different things.
Yeah.
So the father was, you know, a fur coat for a time, and it was also the wallpaper. So his father was different things, and his mother came back with this crab-like thing. It was like a crab or a large scorpion, and they recognized it immediately. So I recognized him at once as the father. So this crab is doing all sorts of different things as their father. Okay, and V, yeah, can you read the next paragraph?
Yeah. But my father's earthly wanderings were not yet at an end. At the next instant, the extension of the story beyond predictable limits is the most painful of all. Why didn't he give up? Why didn't he admit that he was beaten when there was every reason to do so, and when even fate could go no further in utterly confounding him? After several weeks of immobility in the sitting room, he somehow rallied and seemed to be slowly in recovering. One morning we found the plate empty, or like lay on the edge of the dish, in some congealed tomato sauce and aspic that bore the traces of his escape. Although boiled and shedding his legs on the way, with his remaining strength, he had dragged himself somewhere to begin a homeless wandering, and we never saw him again.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, right. So several weeks of immobility.
Several weeks of immobility.
Huh? And then rallied.
Rally? Rally? What does that rally mean? I see it's so familiar.
Yeah, so rally, if you're struggling in something and then you gain more strength and finish whatever you're doing, you've rallied. So often if we're tired at the end of a race, we can rally and like put in that last bit of effort
Yeah,
to
okay.
complete something. Congealed.
Congealed.
And I think this is supposed to be an aspect that portrays an aspect. But I'm not really sure.
You mean aspect?
Yeah, well, I think it's okay. So it's a gelatinous substance, apparently. Yeah. So it's a jelly. Apparently, aspic is a jelly. So there's like congealed tomato sauce and aspic that seems to like bear traces, have like the remnants of his last escape.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, although he was boiled and shedding his legs, he dragged himself somewhere to begin a homeless wandering, and we never saw him again. Heidi, what did you think of this story?
Very strange. And father was eaten by uncle, but next morning he
Yeah.
regained and he escaped.
Okay. Well, he was never eaten by the uncle, right? So the uncle picked up his fork and was like gonna eat him, but then he like looks at the family and he's like, all right, maybe not. So you never know. Maybe Uncle Charles came at night and ate the father,
Mhm.
but you don't really know. Um, yeah. Anything else, Heidi?
And he regained power. Then he ran away from the family. He would be homeless in some place. He never returned to his home.
Yeah. And what do you think about this, V? Like, what do you think is happening here?
I'm not sure. It's very, very strange.
Very strange. V, what about you?
I think the story is a little weird to me because I couldn't capture the first paragraphs.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
but in a way they describe, and I think the sentence. I think they're funny,
You think they're a family?
funny.
I'm not sure if I caught that. One more time, V?
Uh, so how can we say fun? Fun?
Fun?
Yeah, funny. Oh,
I'm not
maybe
sure what you
my
mean.
friend. Uh, how can we how can we pronounce this?
Funny. Funny.
Funny, is that right?
Funny.
Funny, yeah. Like
Okay.
father, funny.
Yeah. It's a little bit funny. It's really dark too. I think it's kind of about somebody, maybe a young child, dealing with the loss of his father in like a really difficult time of his family. Um, yeah, and it's got some surrealism to it, but it's an interesting one. Hopefully you guys liked it. Thanks for coming in, and yeah, I've got another class coming up right now. If you guys want to join it, I'd love to see you.
Yeah.
But again, thanks for coming in, and
Thank you
have a really
very
good
much.
day.
Bye.
Bye, guys.